Okay, great. I think I'm going to get started. Yeah, welcome to everybody. Hopefully you can see my screen. Just give me a thumbs up on Zoom if you can see the screen and you can hear me okay. Okay, perfect. All right, today we are doing a webinar on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And just to quickly take you through an agenda, we're going to just do a 5-minute intro and setup. We're then going to be spending 20 minutes on Sales Navigator Core, really diving deep into the filters and figuring out how best to use it for financial and professional services. We're going to talk a little bit about AI and smart search. You can never do anything nowadays without AI coming up. Hopefully, all of you are using ChatGPT or at least ChatGPT Plus. So there's a little bit of discussion around there, but it's all pertinent to LinkedIn and LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We're then going to be talking about how to message via LinkedIn to get better replies. And then we're going to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. Just some house rules. Everybody is on mute at this point. Um, if you are participating and you're enjoying, it does help the trainer quite a bit to give thumbs up. So I just know that people are there and they're engaging in certain points. And then right at the end with Q&A, if you can just raise your hand on Zoom and we'll get involved in a Q&A session. So is everybody good to go? Okay, perfect. Let's get kicked off. All right, so just a quick intro. My name is Sean Winter. I run a company called Ascend AI, and we help professional and financial services firms get steady leads from LinkedIn, and we train them on how to use AI in sales. I'm a CFA, and I've built a few professional services firms myself. So I know the feast or famine cycle, which this diagram is showing. So you do a little bit of marketing, your sales team pushes, and all of a sudden you've got good business, and then you're very delivery focused, and your marketing and your sales efforts go down, and then you hit the famine, and then you've got to push your marketing efforts up again to get to that feast top of the cycle. So referrals are the general way that people get business in professional services. There's nothing wrong with it, but the problem is you've got no management over that. So you need another channel and a consistent channel to get leads. And that is where LinkedIn for professional and financial services can be extremely helpful. And that's what we're talking about today. So why use LinkedIn Sales Navigator? I thought, before we actually start on it, let's first of all ask why. First of all, LinkedIn is it's still the best place for B2B leads. So there are 1 billion people, 63 million decision makers. Less than 1% of users use Sales Navigator. I think it's about 700,000 people have got Sales Navigator. So if you get Sales Navigator, you already have an edge. And it helps you find the right people fast. And hopefully, what you're going to see throughout this webinar is that it's not only about finding the right people for your company, it's also about building a very simple, repeatable system which is going to consistently book meetings and generate leads. Okay, so just quickly, the pricing options. I always get asked this. I do a lot of training, and this question comes up every single time. What are the different options out there? So you've got your normal LinkedIn, which is free. And then if you click on your business here, there are different kind of packages you can upgrade to. So what I would recommend is the LinkedIn Sales Navigator Core. It's about $100 a month. It's not cheap. No good tools are cheap, but if your job is to find new leads and it's a big part of your day-to-day task, then it'll be money really well spent. LinkedIn Premium is you get the badge and you can send a few in-mails and you can do unlimited searches. But for $40 extra a month to have all of the functionality of LinkedIn Sales Navigator Core, in my opinion, it's an absolute no-brainer. you want to go with the Sales Navigator core. All right. So we're going to get stuck into Sales Navigator. That was the intro, and now we're going to go straight into it. So once you upgrade to Sales Navigator, it turns into a little button here off your top menu. So if I click on that, it'll open a new pane and Sales Navigator pops up. Now, when you land on Sales Navigator, what you can see is I've got a feed. And this feed is alerts on people or companies. So they call companies in Sales Navigator accounts, but it's essentially a company. And any updates or alerts about people or companies that I have saved pop up on this alert list. So it's very useful. You can see if people are moving jobs, if certain companies are hiring, if they're moving and shaking in certain industries or they're making news. It is fairly useful. But what I find is way more useful on this homepage is drilling into a company. So I'm going to give you a quick example here, and I hope you enjoy it. Never Star Finance is an investment management firm based in the UK. They're on my list. So at some time during my outreach and looking for companies that I want to sell to, I save them. And because I saved them, what I can do now is I can go and click on the company and I come to a page that looks like this, where I get a whole array of really rich, useful information. First of all, I can see that it's got 41 employees on LinkedIn and 10 decision makers. This 10 decision makers is very useful for me because those are the people I want to sell to, right? So I'll click on those 10 decision makers and immediately I'll be able to see who the different leads are making decisions in this company. So that's the first thing. And we're going to get back to all of the lists just now. The second thing is I've got this relationship explorer. This is really useful if any of you do account-based sales where you're essentially selling to larger enterprises and one phone call or one email or one LinkedIn connection is not enough. You need a map of the different people, the different roles. You need different touch points. So what you can actually do here on LinkedIn Sales Navigator is you can add the decision makers, all right? And then you can go and structure them in different ways so that you know how this company works. And then you can simply go and reach out to certain people once you've built the map. So it's quite useful. I don't personally use it, but I think for companies that are very enterprise focused, it's a very nice feature. However, what I do use often is growth insights. So this tells me how many people the company has been hiring over the last few years, where they're sitting, the different head functions, new hires, job openings, and a bit more information. So all of this is included in the accounts drill down in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And it's certainly something I use and I find really, really useful on it. Okay. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. The second thing, and this is where we're going to be spending most of our time. I just made a comment here. The tool feels a little bit difficult at first, but it gets easier. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is not the most friendly piece of software out there. Okay, so you're going to have to get used to it if you purchase it. Where you will spend more than 50% of your time is on this little button here called lead filters. And that's what we're going to be spending some time on today. So when I click on homepage, I've got a little lead filter button, or I can click on leads at the top and I also get the button and I can just click it straight from there. When I land on this page, The best way to think about it is that you've got a blank canvas to target 1 billion people. That's the way I like to think about it. However, I can't go and reach 1 billion people. I just don't have the time. They're going to be the wrong people. So I need a mechanism of getting that down into a manageable size. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So what is a manageable size? About 200 people to 400 people, and then you can start building your list. And we're going to talk about list building as well. So when we land on this page, the first thing I want to show you is just the current company filter. So this is quite useful. If you've met a person at a conference and they've given you a business card, you can come in and type that business card. So let's say this is a client of mine in South Africa. So for instance, if I click on them, immediately it shows me there are 194 people. Can everybody see in this top right corner, I'm circling the 194 results. It's a very important number, that, because it's giving you a live count of how many people it's bringing up here. So there's 194 people in Letsema, although it says there that there's 192. I'm not sure what that slight discrepancy is, but that's something that you can do, and I think it's super, super useful. But what we're going to do now is we're going to do an example. It's an example which I think a lot of you will find quite familiar to your circumstances. And we can't focus on all of these filters. I'm just going to show you the main filters that we use, and I think you should use to at least get started. So the example that I want to use is one of a recruitment company that is expanding into the UK, and they want to find some leads. So they would come to the leads filter page, and the first very useful filter is the company headcount. What is the sweet spot? So let's assume that they're going for larger companies, and it's going to be in the 200 to 500 and 500 to 1,000 bracket. So that's the first filter we're going to use. The second filter we're going to use is, if I go down to personal, under geography, I'm going to type in the United Kingdom. All right. And what we can see here now is that I've got 3 million people who are sitting in the United Kingdom in companies between those headcounts. So the list is still way, way too big. The difference between this filter here, the company headquarter location, and the filter that I've just shown you here is exactly what it says. So if I filter for company headquarters in the United Kingdom, it's going to only show me leads associated with companies that are domiciled in the UK. So you're going to have certain instances where you might only want to target leads where the companies are domiciled in certain locations, but most of the time, you're probably going to be looking for where the person is based, in which case you're going to use this filter. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? That filter? Okay, cool. So let's carry on. So we've got a few filters. I've got 3 million results, so that is never going to work. I don't know where to start. The next thing that we generally do is that we come down to seniority level, and I always tell my clients there are four segments that you want to choose here, almost as a rule of thumb: director, owner, partner, CXO. CXO, by the way, stands for any C-suite, and vice president, which is there. Okay. And those four alone take our list down to 320,000 people. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there slowly. The next thing is that the company says, well, our most successful experience in our existing markets is the banking industry. So I only want to target to start the banking industry. So we come into industry. We've got a whole bunch of filters that we can do in industry. You just have to type here, and I'm going to type banking, and I'm going to include in banking. And now what I'm going to see is that my results are starting to get more manageable. I've got 2,500 people in that results now. Okay. Still not quite there. So what I want to now do is get a little bit more sophisticated. Who will a recruitment company be targeting? What persona? They'll be targeting people in the human resources department. Agreed? So there's a few ways that you can do it. And I'm going to show you the different ways so that we can get closer and closer to the people that we actually want to target. The one way to do it is to use function. So I can go into function and type human resources, include. And this is going to give me senior people, but the function must be human resources. And I get 109 results. My experience, and I've been using Sales Navigator for 7, 8 years now, probably every day, is that the function doesn't work that well. Why? Because when people load their profile onto LinkedIn, they're just not that strict with it. That the data is not that good. So it's not my favorite way to do it. The second way you could do it is you could actually go and list all the job titles. Okay. So this is where ChatGPT can be super, super helpful. And just to make life a little bit quicker, I'm going to be talking to my GPT with a dictate function. Hi there, I'm doing a filter in LinkedIn Sales Navigator where I'm looking for senior job titles in human resources. Please give me a list of about 20 job titles that I can use in the filter. So I simply click that, it records my voice, send it to ChatGPT, and I get all of these job titles that it pulls up. Okay, so Chief Human Resources Officer. Okay, there it is there. And I'm not going to do it all now because we just don't have the time, but I could do it this way where I go and I type in all of these senior job titles into here, and I would get a certain result out. All right. What I found also works very, very well, and I'm going to talk quite a bit about it over the next 20, 30 minutes or so, is this Boolean search. Okay. So this Boolean search in the presentation, which I am going to send to all of you, I've actually got a slide explaining exactly how this all works. It looks quite sophisticated, but it's not. You've got ChatGPT to assist you, so I wouldn't stress too much. But I'm gonna show you a quick example of how it works. So if I'm looking for HR people who are senior, I've got the filter for senior already, so I don't have to worry about seniority. What I can do here in the Boolean is I can say look for HR or human resources, okay, or people, and so on and so forth. And now what it's going to do is it's going to take the filters on the left, but it's also going to search for these terms in each of these profiles. So it's taking the search to another level now. So let's have a look. There we go. So I get 561 people. Head of talent acquisition, that looks like quite a good one. Head of deputy head human resources. Yeah, this looks like a good list. So I'd say this was a good starting point, and we're probably a lot closer to getting a manageable lead list. If I wanted to even take it further, you can use some of these filters on the right-hand side, post it on LinkedIn. So 116 of those people posted on LinkedIn. Why would I do that? The reason I would do that is because if they've posted on LinkedIn, it means they're active on LinkedIn, which means when I try and contact them on LinkedIn, the chances of them replying are a lot higher. 13 of them change jobs. Always good to contact people in sales when they change jobs. So that's also a good one. If I want to move 13 right to the top of the list, I'd probably choose these. And then you can also see if any of them are following your company or have viewed your profile. So there's quite a few neat features that you can do there. But given time again, I want to move on now. So what have we done thus far? What we have done is we have gone onto the lead filter and we have set a bunch of filters and a Boolean search to take a 3 million, or in fact, in the UK, there's 45 million people on LinkedIn, down to a set of data of 561 people who we feel could be a good target market for this recruitment company that is looking to go and open services or provide services in the UK. So what do we do from here is the question. This is one thing is finding the people, but what is the next step? So there's two things that I want to take you through now, which are going to, if you are using LinkedIn, hopefully it'll elevate you to the next level. And if you're not using it, hopefully it'll convince you to use it. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to save the search. Why? Just makes our life easier. All right. So to save the search, I've got to click this little toggle here. So I'm going to click that toggle. And if I click on this little save search button, you'll all get the recording, by the way, so you can go and watch this for all these kind of detailed instructions later. It's the top search here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly rename it. And I'm going to call it UK Recruit Example Webinar. Okay, and I'm going to save that. There we go. So what's nice about that is that if I come to a blank sheet on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, so in other words, let me clear all. There's a little clear button here. So I arrive and I've got my blank canvas. Just clean the Boolean. There it is there. If I jump onto my saved searches and I click on that example, it's going to bring up everything that I saved, including the Boolean. So all of my filters and my Boolean with the 561. So it just makes life a lot easier because at this stage, maybe I got the company headcount wrong. And we have a management meeting and they say, Sean, this is too big, this segment. Let's only stick on the 201 to 500. So we get 319 people, not the 500. If I had to rebuild all of this, it would have taken me 10 minutes. Now it took me 2 seconds because I just changed it. And now I can save this again if I want to. So that's step one. Okay. So once you have a filtered list of who you want to target, you are going to save that as a search result. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to save it to a list of people. Okay. So there's two saves. One is you just saving the search, and two is you starting to save to a list because you want to manage these leads. As salespeople and as sales leaders and as marketing leaders, it's one thing getting leads in and contacting them, but if you don't have a system, you can forget about good results. You have to have a system. So what's going to happen now is I want to move some of these 319 people into a list. So what I can do, if I've got a lot of time and I'm a hunter, I can go through them one by one. What am I looking for? If there's a nice profile picture, if I can see that it's a good company, if we've got mutual connections, that also really helps. Then I'll choose them. If there isn't a picture of the person and I don't really have a lot of mutual connections, I generally will leave them because the chances of them getting back to me are so slim. So I could go through this list And one by one, based on the credentials of each person, I can go and select them. And then what I do is I save them to a list, that button there. And for this example, I'm going to create a new list and I'm going to call it UK Recruit List Webinar. And I'm going to create and save. Okay. And what you're going to see now is that if I pop up to the top menu and I go to leads, that list is right at the top. So there it is, UK Recruit List Webinar, and there are the 5 people saved. Okay. So if I come back into my lead filter and we go back into that search, the save search, so I'm back on my 319. What I can see now is that if I save a person, this little button here changes to saved. So I can immediately see who have I saved and who haven't I saved. I hope you can all see that. Makes it really, really useful. Okay. And another nice tip is that you can either do it manually or you can go and select a whole page of leads, which has got 25 leads. So there are 319 results and they split 25 a page. So I could go and select all of those 25. So it immediately goes and adds all of them. Then I click Save to a list and I click on UK Recruit List Webinar. And now I have got 30 people on that list. Okay. And so I continue. All right. And what you'll find is that once you start growing that list, and then we're going to talk about how to message them a little bit later, you can actually connect with them directly from this list. And you can also make notes natively in Sales Navigator, which is really, really useful. So you can go and say, met on the 28th of the 10th, great meeting, follow up for, this date or whatever the case may be. You're probably going to do that in your CRM in any event, but a lot of CRMs don't have a integration with LinkedIn. So you need somewhere to make notes and keep organized. So that's something that is also super useful. Just jumping quickly back to the presentation. So I want to give you one more example. We've also got the OMC group, Damien and a few of his colleagues on the call. Damien is a client and was part of our boot camp. We're actually on a call this morning. Damien, you've got a double dose of me today. Apologies for that. And we're going to use an example here where they are going to, let's assume that they're looking for international tax partners in Dubai. Okay. So this is another example. The first one was direct leads. The second one is we're looking for partners. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to our lead filters. And Damien says to me, okay, right, Sean, we're looking for international tax players in Dubai. And our sweet spot is companies of about 11 to 50. So that's the company headcount. All right. Seniority level, I always do my standard 4. There my 4 again. Okay. Geography, this time we're actually doing Dubai, so we don't have to do the whole of the United Arab Emirates. We can actually do Dubai. Okay. And I get down to 35,000 people. Okay, so that's still a big segment of information. So now Damien has got a bit of a conundrum. And he says to me, Sean, I'm looking for tax people. But when I look at the industry list, there's no tax industry. So how do I find these people? So the best we can come up with is that we find accounting, They might be living there, business consulting, and then financial services. Most of them are going to be sitting in these three industries. All right. And now we get down to 6,500 results. Now what we can do is we can be smart with our Boolean again, because if I type in tax here, it's only going to look for people, senior people, who have got tax somewhere in their profile. Not always accurate because it could be a past job or something like that, but it does help. And if I look at some of these people here, I can see that some of them are going to be companies that are tax consultants. But now we're even going to take it a step further. And Damien says to me, Sean, but the problem with just doing tax is that if they do local tax, they're not really a good partner for us. We want people doing international tax. So then we just change the Boolean search and we say, okay, right, look for international tax in some of these profiles. And you could also, I suppose, have global tax. And maybe what I'll do is ask my good friend ChatGPT to give me a few variations for Boolean covering international tax. See what options it gives us. Okay, so cross-border, yeah, didn't pick that up. International, global, or cross-border. Okay, I quite like that. So I can actually copy it straight from ChatGPT and then just paste it into here. It makes life a lot simpler and click enter. Okay, and now I get 88 results. So two ways to look at that. One is one could say, well, sure, that's taken my list from 6,500 people down to 88. The other way to see it is to say, well, these 88 are going to be way, way closer to the exact leads that I want to speak to. So as a salesperson, you are going to have to balance up all of these factors when you're finding people. You've got all of these filters. You can get very sophisticated with the Boolean search using ChatGPT to help you. What you then want to do, as I explained earlier, is you want to save your search. And then once you've saved your search, you want to put these people into a list, which you can then go and manage. All right, so that's the second example we're using. I know it's a lot of information. I hope you're still with me. And there's the Boolean search, which I'm going to give you some more. You'll get it in the presentation to show you exactly how you can be super smart with doing and functions, or functions, not parentheses, etc. But I'm not going to cover that in this section. Okay, so now what we're going to do is that I'm just going to stick on Damien's example. So Damien now has started building a list. And the next step is to decide, well, what do we actually do? What do we do with these people? One thing, finding them. What's the next step? So I'm going to take you through the next step. So the next step, if we go back to this page here, let's look at this Salil person here. So he's the managing director of Tax Compass. I don't know if that's purposefully a typo, but in any event. And it looks like an international tax firm, so it looks pretty perfect. And it's saved. So let's just quickly save this person into, okay, I don't have a Damien list, but I would have saved it into a Damien list. So now, once you have the person, you need to connect with them. Okay? You need to connect with them. The question then becomes, when I connect with them, should I put a personal note in that connection request or should I leave it? So I get asked this all the time, and that depends, I suppose. What the maths and the statistic tells us is that more people accept with a blank connection request. So that's a rule of thumb. If the connection request is blank, people will more likely accept you. But there are some exceptions. Exceptions include if you've maybe heard of a person at a conference and you want to just put something very personal, so that would work. And also some jurisdictions like Switzerland. Switzerland, if you don't put a note, the chances of a person accepting are way, way slimmer. Whereas jurisdictions in Africa, jurisdictions in the Middle East work a lot better with a blank connection request. Okay. And then you go and connect with these people. All right. Now, if they accept that connection request, I want to show you the next step. So if I go back to one of my lists, so we created this list here. In fact, I do have a Damien list from something we did in the past, Damien. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to go, oh, lost that guy now. Does anybody remember his name? It was Salil. Okay, I've lost that. So I'm going to quickly just go back to doing this. So it was 11 to 50. Sorry about this. Just give me 1 minute and I'll sort it out. Dubai. It was senior level CXO owner, vice president, director. And it was industry accounts, business consulting, and then financial services. And then we used this Boolean from ChatGPT. Okay, there he is there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this person to Damien's list, which is another list that fortuitously I have from another session. So you can see I've added it there. So what Damien would do now is that so one thing is finding the people, the next thing is reaching out. So Damien would come into his list and he would see, right, what is the outreach activity? So here you can see, have I tried to connect with the people? Have they accepted my connection request? It's a very, very important column here. So what Damien is going to now do is he's going to connect with that person. All right. When he opens his LinkedIn Sales Navigator tomorrow morning and he checks his lists and he sees that the Salil has actually accepted his connection request, now he can message Salil because they connected on LinkedIn. And this is what I would advise Damien to do to make his life a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Salil. We're going to go to his LinkedIn profile. And we're going to go into ChatGPT again to make our life easier. I'm going to start a new chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take screenshots of his profile. Okay, remember we connected, so there's no problem in doing this. And his about section, so I know a little bit more about this person. And I'm going to do that so they can see that it's managing director. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the company itself. And I'm going to go to the URL. So I actually found the company. Okay. I'm going to copy the URL. I'm going to paste it into ChatGPT. And then the last step is I'm going to go to Damien's company, which is OMC Group. And I'm going to also copy this URL. Okay, and you'll see why I'm doing all of this now. I'll paste that. Okay, so what I'm going to say is I am a sales biz dev manager for this company, OMC Group. We are targeting partners. Okay, so let's say international tax partners in Dubai. I have attached some screenshots and a URL of a target company. Please write me a LinkedIn DM to Salil, proving that I have looked at his profile, but don't make it easy, and talk about mutually beneficial partnership. Okay, don't worry too much about typos, and off we go. Okay, so let's run that into ChatGPT. Okay, it's given me 3 variations. Why it's done that is because it knows that that's what I always ask for. So straightforward and senior, more context about the partnership. So to have a look here, I came across your profile while researching international tax leaders in Dubai, your experience across that, okay, so especially your work at RSM. So, it's picking up all those snippets I did. At OMC, this is what we do. Given a bit of information, I really like it. I think this message is great. So I would actually copy that. And as soon as he connects with me, I would just send this message immediately to him. And I think in this case, Damien, there'd probably be a really good chance that he would respond, at which case you would then go and change to email or set up a meeting with a Calendly link or whatever the case may be. So this is the next step. It's one thing finding the leads, but then you've actually got to go and convince these people that it's worthwhile talking to you. And whatever you do nowadays as a sales leader, you should be using ChatGPT and ChatGPT Plus. It just makes life way, way simpler. All right, so back to the presentation. We are running out of time here. Something very important, and this is just going to be a last note from my side. Just be a little bit careful. I've had people have this mistake in the past. If I connect with the person from LinkedIn natively, my messaging comes through in this little messaging here. If I connect with a person via Sales Navigator, okay, if I connect there, the messaging comes through the Sales Navigator messaging. So you actually have to check both inboxes. It's a little bit bizarre. I don't know why LinkedIn have done it like that, but they have, unfortunately. So if you are doing this, I had one client down in the Western Cape in South Africa who, for about a month or two, didn't check their Sales Navigator messaging inbox and lost out on a lot of opportunities. So just be cognizant of that. Anyway, everyone, I hope you got value from that. In summary, before we do a Q&A, I think as a salesperson or as a marketing person in B2B, this is probably the best $100 a month that you can spend as a company or as an individual. There's a lot more to it, so I can deep dive for hours and hours and hours. But this is obviously a webinar, and we are a little bit limited on time. We do have a boot camp where we do way more sophisticated deep dives into all of this, but I'll send you some information afterwards on that note. And that's it from our side. So if there's any questions, please just raise your hand and we can go through them one by one. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Come on, I know that somebody's got a question. Don't be scared.
Sean.
Yes, who's that? Damien.
Yeah, it's me. Thank you. Thanks you once again for the webinar. I just have a quick question. I'm about to go for the Sales Navigator
Okay.
and the core option, as you mentioned here.
Yeah, yeah,
And what's quite nice to see that there is like a 1 month free just to get
yeah.
the swing of things that I just want to mention.
Spot on. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Thanks for that. So yeah, you do typically, most of you will get an option to try a Sales Navigator for a month for free, part of their kind of marketing outreach. So yeah, that's thanks, Damien. And I would definitely recommend to go and give it a test run. Any other questions? Was it valuable? Give me a thumbs up if you found it valuable.
Hi, John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Who is that?
Yeah, yeah, Francis here, and thanks for so
Hey,
much for the
Francis.
session.
How's it? Yeah,
Yeah,
long
so
time.
very long time, Sean. So I'll ask just a simple and a question I don't like being asked when people are doing fundraising. What's a typical sort of success rate in terms of using the Sales Navigator vis-a-vis just the old school? Like, does it increase your chances by 2 times, 50%, or is that something you have somewhere, or in the data has ever been analyzed?
I think, Francis, it's going to be very difficult to quantify that. I think if you are like in your business, I know you're looking for leads, but you're also looking for probably co-investors and investment partners. So you're looking on multiple sides. Um, you have to get LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's an absolute no-brainer. It's just your ability to find the people with your more powerful searches and your more powerful Boolean, save them and then nurture them. You're going to get, I mean, if I had to put a number there, I would put it at 5x in terms of productivity. That doesn't necessarily translate into 5x more business. It never works like that. But in terms of your success in actually finding people and getting conversations going, I would say 5x. It's super, super
Hi, Sean.
powerful.
Thanks, Sean. That's very helpful. I think anything that increases even 20% is good. So
Yeah,
5x is
yeah, way more than
pretty
that.
good.
Way more. Thanks, Francis. Any other questions?
Yes, hi Sean. It's Mohammed here.
Hey, Mohammed.
Just a quick one. Okay. Yes. First of all, thank you very much for this session. It was very insightful. I have experience working with Zoom Info, which I've used in the past. I just wanted to hear from the top of your mind, like, what's your preference between the two?
Yeah, look, Zoom, there are other lead tools. So the two big ones that other people use are Apollo and Zoom Info. But the question you got to ask yourself is where do they get their information? They get it from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is the holy grail of all of this. So it's quite a long question to answer, but it depends on your use case. But if your primary job is to look for B2B leads and figure out a way of connecting with them, I would go Sales Navigator. If you are looking for more GTM, go to market richness, so you're looking for email addresses, you're looking for movements and like a lot more information than what I showed you today, then Zoom Info could be a good option for you. Does that kind of answer you?
On the money.
Okay, cool. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
thanks, Mohammed. Anybody else? Okay, well,
Hello, Sean.
fantastic.
Sorry, just one
Vishaka,
question.
yeah, sure.
Yes,
Hi there.
thank you for the session. I just wanted to confirm for the Sales Navigator. Can this be done through the company page, or I have to get the premium? What's it called?
That's all. It's all the
The
personal, Vishaka. So you can't
personal.
get this
Okay.
little buy-in here off the company page. It's all from your personal profile.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Which is also a really important point, because something that, you know, for any of you who follow you know, some of what I do, people don't get business from the company LinkedIn page. I mean, you got to do it for holidays and, you know, maybe for a few job posts and whatnot, but people follow people. So that is why, if you look at any of the statistics, if you are reaching out from your personal profile or you're writing stories from your personal profile, yeah, you've got a 5 to 10x increase in terms of engagement.
Sean, can I just ask just one more quick question, just with regards to the lists that you generate? You don't take those lists and put them into a CRM. Am I right in saying that for any LinkedIn leads and lists that you make, you manage it all within the Sales Navigator platform? You wouldn't put it into, for example, HubSpot CRM or anything like that?
Yeah, Chris, so it's a good question. It's quite a complicated question, and yeah, unfortunately, there's kind of different levels that one could answer that. So I would say that at a 101 level, you would handle it natively. So you'd make your notes here, you check what people are doing, and you'd handle it in Sales Navigator. The 201 level is that you can actually scrape all of this information using scrapers like Phantom Buster, download it into a CSV file, clean it up, load it into a CRM, and then manage it from that side. Okay, so you can also do that through scraping tools and enrichment tools and put it into a HubSpot. But the only complication, if you're going to do it that way, is that HubSpot doesn't have a direct integration into LinkedIn. So whatever you're kind of doing here in terms of messaging and whatnot, somehow you're going to have to load that into the CRM later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both, but I think for the typical hunter-gatherer, you probably want to stick just kind of doing things natively, at least to start.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Any other questions? We all good? All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions or you want to ask about what we do or some of our other training, please just drop me an email. You've got my email address, and I'd be happy to set something up, and appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate those kind words. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.